This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everyone. If you're feeling a little heavy lately in terms of just vibes around you, or you're making some changes in your life, there might be a reason why you're doing that now. We're going to talk about that and so much more. And whenever we get together with her, I don't even know how. I don't do her a service by describing who and what she is and what she does because there's so much. And I learn more stuff all the time. Hypnotherapist, Reiki practitioner, past life regression she practices for others, intuitive readings, holistic wellness coaching, spice in a little bit of astrology there. And you have the beauty in Adrianne Smith, who joins us once again on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Steve. How about yourself?
Feeling that, and I don't mean it in a negative way, that change coming, that like maybe heaviness, if you want to call it that. I don't know, but like something in the air. And I know that I don't run deep in astrology, but I do know that we're in a pre-phase for another Mercury retrograde, which kicks in about 13 days ish, but it also starts way before where we are now. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. What are you feeling?
Well, that definitely has a lot to do with some of the things that we've been experiencing as a collective lately. And, I would say I dabble in astrology more than, um, yeah, I'm not exactly the expert. Now, my sister, Word Witcher, she is absolutely the expert there. But we we'll have a lot of conversations about this. And so the pre-phase of the Mercury retrograde is referred to as the shadow period. Right now, we are in that shadow period, and we are kind of starting to feel the effects of Mercury stationing into retrograde right now. So, what happens with all of that? What does that mean, right? A lot of people think about these astrological terms and they're like, have no idea what's happening with Uranus right now. Like, we don't care, like, whatever. How does that affect me? Well, it affects the collective because those planets do have a subtle pull on the energies that we experience as the collective. So, as Mercury is going retrograde, what's happening is that kind of movement of that planet appears to be slowing down from our perspective.
Yep.
And so Mercury is the planet that rules the energies of communication, travel, technology, just like the Roman god Mercury, the namesake of the planet. That's sort of what you would expect to be affected right now. So you're going to see technological glitches. You're going to see maybe travel plans going awry. My best friend was just in an accident yesterday on her way home from work, just completely got rear-ended by someone. These types of things are going to have an impact. As far as communication goes, communication can be less clear right now.
Yep.
It's not necessarily a great time to be trying to have those like deep and difficult conversations with people who may not understand where you're coming from. It can be a little tricky. Not to say that it can't be done, just to be mindful of the fact that your words may be misinterpreted. So be very, very careful and, choose your words precisely during
Mm.
this time, just to avoid any kind of miscommunications and things. Um, and that being said, this is also happening at a time of the year where, it's the end of October. All we've had, I don't know about you guys there in New York, Steve, but here in Colorado, we have had a spectacular fall. It has been one of the most glorious falls I can remember, in the history of me being here living in Colorado over the last 30 years.
Now, how do you mean that
So
in terms of the weather or what?
the weather, yeah, the weather, and it's just been beautiful. We've had, the crisp coolness in the evenings and mornings and overnight and stuff, but the daytime has been sunny and beautiful and just very
Hmm.
pleasant temperatures. And that means that all of those fall colors, those beautiful aspen trees, are just fall coloring nonstop. And we still have a lot of color out there, which is really unusual for Colorado this time of year. So, that being said, it's been just a lovely season, but it is now coming to an end. I woke up this morning to a temperature of 15 degrees outside. Yeah, yeah,
Oh
that's
boy.
where I'm at. So it's getting to where everything is starting to turn inward as far as the Earth's cycles, right? So wherever you're at in the world at this particular time, at least in the northern hemisphere, that's kind of what is happening on a more global scale as the
Wow.
seasons are shifting. So in the northern hemisphere right now, we're experiencing fall. All of that energy is being pulled inward. The leaves are falling off the trees. And just the same, we kind of respond to that with more of a desire to shed what no longer serves and to turn our thoughts and our awareness inward in order to kind of, hibernate on things over the winter and, do our inner work. It's a great time to start thinking about what kind of shadow work we need to do.
Mm.
And with Mercury in the pre-shadow period, it's all kind of coalescing into the same type of energy. And we're feeling drawn to kind of release what doesn't serve and, maybe go inside, make a few changes.
Well, interesting how this retrograde, and they could pop up at any time during the year, typically three for about 3 weeks. Although it was
Yep.
last year or the year before, it was more like 4 weeks, four of them in the year.
Four of it, right. It's usually
Yeah.
three, sometimes four. Yep.
But this one happens to coincide with the change of season. By the way, daylight savings time ends this weekend.
Yep.
Another change. But yeah, spot on with everything that you've said and I've heard for years. I have a backup hard drive sitting right over there that failed in late last week. We're in the pre-phase,
Uh-huh.
not surprised, and got another one on its way, whatever. Um, but the communication thing is big. Making sure that when you talk with someone, when you text someone, when you email, whatever it might be, that your intention is clear. Like check and double check with your best friend before you send it. Walk away, come back. That's exactly what I want to say. How
Yeah.
are they going to interpret it? Because more times than not during this period, it'll be taken a different way. It'll be
Yeah.
taken a
And
different way.
sometimes less is more. Sometimes getting too verbose just opens the door to more miscommunication and more
I agree.
misinterpretation. So, sometimes just keeping things concise, say what you mean what you say, and just leave it at that can be really helpful.
So I want to share something that worked for me. Making a change in a business situation, side thing, nothing major. Working with somebody on something didn't. We had different visions. Let's put it that way. And there was a couple of things that came to the forefront. They weren't exactly transparent. Let's just put it that way. So
Oh,
I you know, had a whole email of my thoughts and, how things went and everything, walked away from it, came back, and then started whittling away at that to the point where it was basically in a pleasant way, nothing nasty, just two sentences to what needed to get wrapped up, and
mhm.
that's that. But my point here is write it, type it, whatever for yourself, because I got it
Yes.
off my proverbial chest. I already put it out into the universe by writing it, but not sending it. And I
Mhm.
waited like 2 days. So I'll leave it there on the screen. I'll come back to it. Let me look at that again. You know what?
Yeah.
Take that out. Take that out. And then I got to the point. It's not gonna make a difference. It doesn't matter. So, like you said, keep it short, two sentences.
Yep.
Um,
Short and
be,
sweet.
be kind as you can, and that's it. And you know
Right.
what? Wrapped up, all good. Moving on.
Yeah. And I think that that's perfect. That is really the wisest course of action many times. You don't need to actually communicate a whole dissertation of why someone did something that you didn't appreciate or, whatever the circumstance is, right?
Sure.
And, sometimes it is great to do exactly what you did. Just get it all out there. Get your first draft to just be all the big blah of everything that comes up. And then think about it a little longer. Just let it kind of mull over, whittle it down to
Yep.
what actually needs to be said. And for me, I find it helpful to also look at things from a perspective of, okay, what am I saying? And is this in alignment with the greater good, the highest good? Does this really need to be said? What purpose does it serve?
Yep.
And if that purpose is in alignment with the highest good, then you're okay to say it and sort of filtering it through that lens.
My realization with what you're saying is that if you need to send an email or a text that's a little longer to explain something so the other person has clarity and you're on the set, if you need to do that, they don't get it anyway. So why bother?
Right,
Why bother?
right.
You're doing
It's
it for
it's
you.
true, you know. Right. My grandma used to call it casting your pearls to swine. And
Mm,
it's kind of the same thing where
it
it's
really is.
like, you can sit there and explain all of this, but you're really just wasting your breath, wasting your energy
Yeah.
on someone who's not necessarily going to understand what you're saying, where you're coming from. And a lot of times that's where the disconnect comes in with interpersonal relationships of any type, which is, that the person really doesn't get where you're coming from. And in that case, it's best just let it go. It serves no purpose. Nothing positive can come of just stirring the pot. Another granny saying is, the more you stir manure, the worse it smells. It, just let it go.
There's truth in that. There's truth in that because you send that email or text or whatever it is, could be even a handwritten letter, whatever. That
Right, right.
the more that's in it, the more mucky it gets, the more muddy and dirty it gets. I don't mean like nasty dirty, but
Hmm.
it could be. And do you really need
It
to?
could be, or it
And
could be interpreted that way.
it could be, especially during the retrograde. And it goes
Right,
back to, the three
right.
filter I believe in. Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it
Hmm.
true? Now, if
Yes,
if you're writing that, there's probably truth in it. You're bothered by something, and maybe you pile it on facts. Okay. Um, is it necessary? That goes back to exactly what we're saying here. Is it going to make a difference? Probably not. Probably not necessary. Is it
exactly.
kind? You could be very respectful, very, very nice about it, but it's going to go nowhere anywhere. And you run the risk of it being interpreted in a different way. Mm,
Right, exactly. And it's unfortunately very common for people to kind of twist our words against us.
sure.
And especially if they feel off put by what you have said, a lot of people don't like being called out, even though what you're saying is totally true.
Yep.
And even if you say it in the kindest way, people's ego gets in the way a lot. And it's very rare, I feel like, to find someone who is truly devoid of ego of any type. And,
We all are. We
it's,
all have
we all
egos.
have
We
it to a
all, that's
degree. That's
normal.
how we interface with the world is through
Sure.
our ego. And so, like we all have it to a degree. Some of us have worked very hard not to allow that to take the driver's seat, but it still exists.
Sure.
However hard we try, we're still human, right? That's a human trait. But a lot of people don't try to not let it take the driver's seat. A lot of people are not even conscious of the fact that they're operating from a place of just pure ego. And in that case, those are the people that typically you're going to butt heads with and that typically will misinterpret what you say because speaking the truth is something that someone who is ego driven does not like. They do not appreciate that because
Yep.
it conflicts with what their own image of their self is in their own mind. And that feels, very threatening to them and very off-putting, and it puts them off balance. And so their kind of defensive mechanism on there is to kind of turn it around on you and project all of their own insecurities,
Yep.
which is unfortunate but common.
That's how it goes. I'm still processing your
Yeah,
grandmother's. The more you stir the pot, the smellier it gets. Like it's funny. Like it's real.
right. Yeah, the more you
This
stir
is,
manure, the worse it smells. Yeah.
do you realize this in life as you get older, that all the things that your mother, father, relatives, those who you were very close connected to, grandmother, all those things that they used to say that you used to just throw off. And honestly,
Right.
I would never say this to them when I was younger, but my mind was, shut up, you're old. What do you know? That's stupid phrase.
Right.
It's a cliche. What do you know? They knew. And now I see it. Now that these things come back and it's like, oh,
Yeah,
that is true. Oh, that is true. Okay, great wisdom
it's
there.
so true.
Mm.
It's so true. And like now I'm looking at my oldest son turns 20 in a few months. And that to me is just like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe that's crazy. But I did notice that, yeah, I had the same experience when I was younger. I would look at what they said and be like, really? What are you talking about? You don't know anything. You're old, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's kind of like the teenage thing where I think I actually just said to my 16-year-old son, oh, yeah, you're 16 now. You know everything. I don't need to tell you anything anymore. Jokingly, of course, we banter a lot. and and he starts laughing, and I was like, yeah, it's just how it goes. When you turn 16, you know everything. And then I discovered that when I became a mother, I realized how little I did actually know. And then over the years, over the last 2 decades of being a mom, I've discovered that, oh my God, my mom really was right about everything.
It's so true. It's so true. It really
It's
is.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it. And I'm not trying to read into those things that they would say, but like my mother used to say this one, and she was overprotective, and she would say, "Don't sit on the ground. You get a cold in your stomach." I'm like, "How are you going to get a cold in your stomach from sitting on the ground? What the hell? What are you talking about?" Well, I've done podcasts in the last couple of weeks with Chinese medicine experts, and they do acupuncture and all of that. And one of the most important
Mhm.
things is you need to remain warm. If you're not, especially even drinking warm beverages, it can affect your spleen, your kidney. You'll have health issues. Certainly, yes, if you sit on the ground, your insides will be cold, and that is not good according to Chinese medicine. So what am I doing now? I'm drinking warm liquids. I don't sit on the ground and all of that.
I love it. I
Chinese
love
medicine
it.
been around for
Yeah.
centuries,
Yeah.
centuries,
And it's been fantastic for centuries. It's really,
right?
it's an amazing
Got,
medicine. Yeah. And I have a
herbal
good friend
meds,
who,
now herbal meds, and I used to look at that
yeah,
back in the day and say, wait, eating weeds? But it kept me out of the hospital with digestion issues, just saying. Um, for this,
yeah, it's true. Well, and when you think about it, all of our pharmaceutical medicines are really just synthesized versions of the herbal medicines that people have been using for millennia.
yeah,
So, which one is the original medicine? It's herbs.
100%.
I'm
Uh,
not going to get into the debate of which one's better. That's a whole different conversation, but
no, no, no. But you know what?
but
I know
it's true.
I'd like to gravitate more to something more natural than chemicals, and I won't
Hmm.
take anything unless I absolutely have to, even
Right.
ibuprofen or whatever, but whatever. Everybody's different. Um,
Same.
is there anything you're feeling now in terms of energy or anything that we should be aware of? I mean, you practice it, energy healing, all of that. Anything that is coming up for you at this point in time?
Yeah, so I think right now protection is a really big key to what's going on right now because there are so many different energies going on that, kind of keeping yourself buffered with a good boundary between yourself and anything that energetically does not align with you
Mm,
is going to be really, really helpful. And, but at the same time, balancing that with connection with those who do align with you, the people who make
hmm.
you feel good, the people who make you feel happy, truly, not just like, blowing smoke up your butt or whatever.
Yep.
Like the people who truly, authentically make you feel happy, valued, loved unconditionally. Those are the people, and finding your tribe, even. You might have people in your life who already fill that role, but there's always more out there. There's always more people who are like-minded, and being able to connect with them is a great way to kind of, support yourself on your own journey of enlightenment, ascension, whatever you want to call it, just, becoming a better person, having a more fulfilled life.
Yep.
All of those things are all kind of part of the same.
I 1 billion% agree with you. And maybe it's even time to take inventory of who's there. And it's also people you feel that get you. We're talking
Yes,
about some woo-woo stuff here. Um, there are some that I talk to that they're like, what are you talking about? Like what? Um, they don't get me. They don't get it, and that's perfectly fine. But it's finding those that, or at least have an open mind to it to some extent, because then you
right.
you feel you don't feel heard sometimes. I'm not just talking about this stuff. It could be anything that you're into.
Yes, absolutely. It could be anything. And of course, like if you are a deeply spiritual person, it definitely helps to have people in your life who get where you're coming from there too and are on the same page. And having that sense of community is really important. And I think that the more we do kind of gravitate towards our own inner sense of spirituality and enlightenment, the more we start to realize that everyone is truly connected, even the people that we don't vibe with. There is still some sort of a connection, some sort of a mirroring going on there. It's like, oh, well, why is this person upset me so much? Maybe there's something I need to look at within myself that's being triggered by that. Oh, I
Mhm.
don't like the way this person does something. What am I doing that's similar that I don't like? And how can I change that and transmute that energy into something that's more beneficial? And then you become less triggered by the people that you don't necessarily get along with.
So quick question on that. I want to focus on that for a second before we run out of time. So people in your life who you may look at, and I'm not saying this is right, but we do it, where you judge them. Look at them, like, well, what, you say insert whatever you want, but things that you look at others and just like, and you might not say it to their face, but you think it like, look at this person, like, what the hell are they doing? Blah, blah, blah. More times than not, isn't that us speaking about ourselves?
A lot of times it is. And there's one of those hard pills to swallow with the ego, right?
Oh yeah.
Going back to that ego again, because that always rears its head when you least expect it. And those are the types of things where we know that our own insecurities and perceived flaws are being brought to the forefront and projected on someone else. And maybe that person truly is doing the things that you're, disliking about them or whatever it is, right? But anytime we pass judgment, it's really a projection. And that's kind of maybe
Mm.
oversimplified, but
No, I get it.
I think that that's a lot of it going on there is that, what we're seeing in others that we're being judgmental about, it may be things that we also do that we dislike about ourselves.
Mm,
And it could also be things that we used to do and we have recently, relatively recently outgrown, if you will. And, like maybe, oh my gosh, I used to be such a doormat for people, when I was younger or something like this. And, like I used to be a total doormat and I would never stand up for myself, never speak up for myself, just let people use and abuse me, whatever. And then you get out of that mindset and say, oh, never going to let myself be treated like that again. No, I have my self worth, my self respect. I'm not going to allow that to happen to me ever again. And then you see someone else who is still in that mentality and become judgmental of them. Well, why can't she just figure it out? Or, whatever it is, right? And that is kind of your own psyche trying to reconcile where you were with where you are, but that's part of the healing process too. And it's, something that we need to be cognizant of. And
mm,
just to say, oh, like catch ourselves in the act of being mentally judgmental towards someone and just give them compassion and remember
yeah.
that, none of us are
Where you
perfect.
came from. Remember where you
Right.
came
We've
from.
all been there. We've
Yeah.
all done that. Like, have compassion for that person, wish them well in their journey of healing so that they do not do those things anymore. And that can apply to really anything. any negative trait that someone could be exhibiting. You can apply compassion to that, and it negates the judgment instantly.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? It kind of essentially is a trigger. It's triggering something in you that you've worked on, maybe cleaned
Yes.
it up a little bit, but it's still coming back. Um,
Mhm.
I love your your clarity on all of this. Like you make things so easy to understand and relatable. There's no woo here. It's very clear of what's going on. You were born with a superpower to do that. I think it's a Virgo thing too. I just
Well,
think,
thank you. Yes, I think it might be a Virgo trait. Yes.
just saying. But this is what you do from hypnotherapy to Reiki and past life regressions and so much more. We've done sessions, amazing. Um, Clarity, hello, like all of that came to the forefront, and I didn't even know what we were doing. We just kind of jumped into it, and you came up with something
Yeah.
that was going to work for me. Best way to find you, your website, wildhearthealingco.com. Is
Yes,
that it? All right, beautiful.
that's the
Uh,
one.
Adrianne, thank you for all these podcasts, all your insight, your wisdom, your grandmother. Truly appreciate getting together with you, and my intuition's telling me we will again somehow in the future.
Well, that would be wonderful, Steve. I really appreciate it. It's been a ton of fun. Love it.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you again. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.